One of the best values in acoustic guitars, the FG800 went away, and Yamaha replaced it with the FG800J. How does it compare? Does it live up to the legend? Let's find out. Hey, you're watching Alamo Music TV. My name is Chris McKee with Alamo Music in San Antonio, Texas, and you can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and like our videos. If you'd like to support the channel, you can visit our spring store link below for custom swag. Check out our podcast, the Fretboard Confessional, and also just buy things from us. We'll let you do that in person, online, however you'd like. One of the guitars that's been very popular over the years is the Yamaha FG series. Now, years ago, about 15 years ago, was the FG800, and it was a pretty good beginner guitar for about $199. And then Yamaha replaced it with the FG800, and I was head over heels for it because they made a lot of changes that actually put it in line with some of the building practices of higher-end guitars. Notably, of course, you had the solid top, but you had scalloped bracing that allowed the top to move more. That had, again, been something that you really only saw in higher-end guitars up to that point. Really nice setup, nut saddle, all of that stuff. Now, we sold a lot of those. We did videos on those. We ballied them about as probably the best value if you're looking for a beginner guitar. And then Yamaha went and replaced it. And they replaced it with something called the FG800J, which I have in my hands. Now, it was a very quiet replacement, but there were some changes that happened to the guitar, and the question is, does it still live up to being one of the best value beginner guitars that there is today? So let's take a look at what happened. So for the first thing that happened is it moved from being made in China to being made in Indonesia. Now that might be helpful today from a tariff standpoint. I don't know what the tariff is on Indonesia, but it seems to get a lot less press than the tariffs on China. So maybe that was part of the equation, but it happened long before Trump was in office, so who knows? What remained was the fact that you have a solid top with scalloped bracing on this guitar, but the body shape very quietly went through a bit of a massaging. So it's still a dreadnought, but the lines are a little bit different than on the old FG800, and it's very subtle, so it's likely that most people missed it. Along with that was a change in scale length. So the FG800 was 25.5-inch scale length with a 1 11/16 nut width. This one is 25-inch scale length with a 1 11/16 nut width. So what does that mean? Because if you're watching this video, because you're shopping for a new beginner guitar, you probably don't know what that is. So let me explain it to you. The scale length is the vibrating length of the string from the nut to the saddle right here. And whatever that length is that the manufacturer chooses for that string to then be tuned to pitch, frequency for the low string being an E, that's going to determine where all of the frets go. So the longer the scale length, the further apart the frets. The shorter the scale length, the closer together the frets become. Now that has an impact on sound as well. The harmonics along the string get closer together, and you tend to end up with a warmer sounding guitar as it gets shorter in scale length. The other thing that it does is it changes the tension on the string, because the string's tuned to the same pitch, but the length that it's spread across is less, and so the tension changes slightly. What that means is it has what we usually refer to as a slinkier feel. You can push the strings down with a bit more ease than you could when it had the longer scale length and a bit more tautness to the string. So I think this change, along with the changes to the body, actually make this an even better guitar for someone who's starting out. Why? Let me explain. When you're starting out, one of the things that usually comes up is the pain that you go through in developing calluses on your fingers. And I hate to tell you, there's really not much of a shortcut to that. You kind of have to go through pushing the strings down and developing calluses. Now, people ask me all of the time, which one's better? Nylon string guitars or steel string guitars for learning? Neither's better. They're different. They both have challenges. So you might say nylon strings are a little wider, they have less tension, maybe they're a little softer on the fingers. True, But those guitars also tend to have wider nuts, thicker necks, and higher action. So those are trade-offs. This has a narrower nut, a smaller neck, and a lower action. But the strings have more tension, and they're steel. So maybe they'll feel worse on the fingers, so to speak. But you don't have to push as hard. By changing the tension on this, by going to a shorter scale, that helps every single beginner. And I will also tell you, this guitar that I'm going to demo for you here in a second, we haven't set up. I went down to the warehouse, I took the box off the shelf, I took it out of the box, and I tuned it up, and I played it. And the setup on it is really, really good. How good? Well, I pulled out more expensive guitars from high-end guitar builders that didn't have as good of a setup on this. Now, that can vary, okay? But I can tell you for certainty with this one, particularly right here in the first position, the nut is nice and low, there's no buzz, but it's very easy to fret a chord. So all in all, by having the shorter scale length and by having a slightly massaged, smaller body while still being good-sized dreadnought, I think for most people buying this, they're going to be very pleased. And on top of all of that, like none of that would really matter to me if it sounded like it was stuffed with socks. This is still a really good sounding guitar. A solid top, where most of the sound comes from on an acoustic guitar. Scalped brace so it has resonance and can really move. It gives you a great sound. Check it out. All right, so there you have it. The Yamaha FG800J, with its changes, I think continues to stay in my list of guitars I would recommend for someone who's starting out. Absolutely, it's a great value. Current price on these is $239. Now, that's subject to change. We're dealing with a lot of price increases right now, so make sure you check our website at alamomusic.com. There's probably a link in the description for this guitar. You can go right to it and see what the current price is, see if it's changed at all. But at $239, even if this is $300, it's a good value for the guitar. It's really hard to find another guitar for this price that plays as well and sounds as good as this guitar with this quality. At the end of the day, we must confess that Yamaha is one of the best guitar makers that also manufactures motorcycles and ATVs and off-board motors and pianos and saxophones. They do everything, and they do a lot of it very, very well. So if you're looking for a guitar, this would definitely be on my list. If you're looking for another guitar, if you want something that's not as precious as some of your nicer things to beat around, to keep in a separate place at the office or what have you, this is a good buy. For under $300 right now, how can you go wrong? What a great guitar. Let me know if you have any Yamaha experiences. I will share with you real quick. When I was starting to learn acoustic guitar, I had a friend at church named Doyette lend me a Yamaha FG. It was the folk body, and that really set me on my way. A bunch of chord charts and lending me that guitar allowed me to develop and really learn how to play. So Yamaha was important for me. I think it's been important for a lot of guitar players in their quest to learn how to play. So let us know your Yamaha story. And if you have any questions, make sure you visit us online. You can chat with us. You can give us a call. We're here to help you find the right guitar to meet your needs. Make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, like our videos, and I will see you next time.